Okay, so this is our bi-monthly call for team building. And on the last call, I set the expectation that Rick and Selena or Rick or Selena would be back on the call today. However, Rick is teaching a business and life mastery course from 10 a.m. till 3 p.m. Today in Monterey, which is exciting. And Selena is without any kind of Wi-Fi for 7 days. She's doing in a personal professional development training out in Santa Fe, New Mexico, called the Life Success Course. So she is completely out of pocket. And Rick said, "Oh, maybe we'll cancel the call." And I said, "No, we don't want to cancel the call. So you're stuck with me for this week. And then they'll be back on the first of the month as scheduled and take it from there. So I know that the purpose of this call is really around building and scaling a sales team, sales organization. And so for both you, Betsy, and for Judy, since you're the only two that are on the call today, would love to just check in on what you're looking for specifically out of the call. And then we'll start a conversation around that. So Judy, do you want to go first? What do you want to walk away with from today's call?
Yeah, I haven't started building a team, and I'm probably a ways out from building a team, but I'm realizing that that's the only way for me to actually have a real business that's outside of just me running around like a crazy person all the time. So I'm just exploring what teams look like for people and what would be the best way to model a team for myself and my husband, we're a domestic team, so we're technically a team, but what's the best way that it would look in the future?
Okay, cool. And how about for you, Betsy? What are you looking for on today's call?
Well, so I do have a team. It's about 7 wide, but they're not all producers. And so I what I want to do is really kind of figure out where to cut the fat, what resources I should be utilizing the most, so that my agents are encouraged by lead generation, but also gives me the flexibility to grow the organization, not necessarily the team, but the organization, if that makes sense. So just kind of figuring out where I can be most effective and most productive with the budget and not overspend, because I feel like my first year was just a lot of trial and error, and I probably spent more money than I should have in trying to just keep them busy with leads that were not necessarily the greatest,
Yeah.
So being resourceful with the tools I have.
Okay, cool. And then when you say you have 7 on the team, but they're not all producers, is that the sales team or is that the organization?
Well, I have 10 in my organization. I have 2 assistants that I do have on staff, but the ones that do produce are producers are basically 3 or 4. So they don't all produce. Some are just kind of like hanging out, waiting, for something good to happen, which I need to work on creating training or to be more motivational for them, encourager. So just kind of building out a system for that, a routine where we have like a mindset Monday or like Tech Tuesday or something, so that they're engaging and continuing to move their needle forward.
Okay. Yes. However, I'm still not clear on the answer to my question. On the 7, are they on your sales team? Meaning when they do a transaction, you're taking 50% of the commission as their buyer. So there's 7 of those people.
Yes, I have 7 that are on an actual team split with me.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. And then what is the team split that you have them on?
So for buyers leads, it's a 70-30. And for listings, it's a 50-50 because we do a lot of marketing on their behalf. So we do 50-50. So it's 70-30 and buyers, and then 50-50 for sellers.
Okay. And do you have lead generation requirements set up for the 7? Or are they just
No, that's, well, a lot of it is organic because, I teach them like, okay, let's, tap into your sphere of influence, the things that you should be doing, social media, reaching out to that low lying fruit that you already have in your sphere. So most of them have been really good about getting those kind of referrals, but we haven't done like a lead generating on their own. Like, you know, with KV Core, I think they can definitely leverage some of that, but we haven't gone that deep into like showing them how to be their own self-sustaining lead generating tool, you know?
Gotcha. Okay. So are you okay? Judy, does it work if we start with Betsy just in the conversation today?
Oh, for sure, because I'm just actually listening.
Yeah, you're soaking it up. So, I think the first thing that jumps out, Betsy, how many do you have of those 7 that are working strictly as buyer's agents? And then how many strictly as listing, or is everybody a combo?
Everyone has been a combo. They're all young in the business, not necessarily in age, but in the business. And so they've all been able to, you know, work both sides, listings and buyers.
Okay. And so if you had let's say you had a referral for another area of a buyer that came in, let's say out of state, if you were to refer that and they're ready to buy like right now, it's a really well qualified lead. If you had one of those that came into you personally and you were to go find someone out of state, what would you give them that what would be the referral fee that you would charge them?
If I've had a personal lead that was going out somewhere else, I would do a 25%, pretty standard.
Okay, you do 25%. So I guess the first question, if we're looking at the finances of how things are set up, is, and what's the amount that you've been paying for lead gen year to date?
So on average, it would be maybe about 2,000 a month.
Okay, so 2,000 a month on lead gen, and we are 10 months in, so let's call that $20,000 so far this year. And then for buyer side deals, how many transactions has the team done that have been done by team, not by you, on that 70-30?
By team, I'm going to say buyers about 10.
Okay, and what is the average purchase price?
We're probably at about 350.
Okay, and what's the average commission?
3%.
3%? Oh, wow, that's amazing. We're not getting 3% up here in the Bay Area. What market are you in?
I'm in San Antonio.
Okay, so we've got 10 transactions at an average price of 350. That's 3.5 million. Times 3% is 105,000. And your portion of that is 30%.
Yeah, but minus the cap. Minus cap, so.
And do you have them on a half cap?
Yeah, most of them are on a half cap.
Okay. So right now, if you take that into consideration, your expenses for the leads is right about equal to the income that's getting in from the buyers, that's coming in from buyers once they're paying into their cap. So there's not really any profit that's coming from having that aspect of the business. Do you come up with those same numbers?
Yeah, and that's where I'm seeing the shift. I mean, even on the listing side, we're kind of scrounging as well because we do pay money to do the marketing, and out of my 50%, I pay for that. And then I do, obviously, I currently have overhead because before I came over with EXP, I had my own office and my own brokerage. So I have a lease commitment with that. So I do have overage, and then I do have employees. So yeah.
Yes.
It's slim profits right now.
Yeah. So right now we're possibly running in the red.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, so there's a couple of things just looking right off the bat. And I'll just tell you a little bit about Rick's team and how he's got it structured. So on listings, 20% comes off the top to handle the expenses of the listing, which is everything from staging to photos and flyers to part of the admin and staff costs. So on the listing side, 20% comes off the top, and then it's a 50-50 split.
Okay, and is his dynamic pretty much the same? Like they might bring their own lead, or if that's just something that's generated by his lead generation?
So that is the arrangement for when they bring their own leads. Because they don't have to take,
Okay.
they don't have to take care of anything. The team's handling everything. Right? So the team's handling all the paperwork that goes with the transaction, arranging the staging, arranging the flyers, virtual tours, paying for all of those things. Like literally all that agent's doing is bringing the relationship and writing the contract and then servicing the client. So all of the other stuff is happening from the team. So it ends up being a 60-40, 60 to the team, 40 to the agent. Or if you want to look at it as 20% comes off the top to pay expenses, and then 50-50 from there. And so for that 50-50, they're getting the expertise of the team, they're getting the your experience, they're getting your coaching, your training, they're getting everything that goes along with what you're offering to the team in value. And that is the 50%, that is where the 50-50 after the 20% comes off the top. For the buyer model on the buy side, it's 50-50. No exceptions. And so 50% goes to the team, again, to run admin and for the support of the team. Of Rick's 50% that he gets, he pays a lead buyers specialist so that they're getting all of the contract and negotiation support. And that comes out of his 50%. That goes to the lead buyer specialist. So he's taking 40% to not have to touch the deal, but he runs huddles for the team where they're getting all kinds of coaching and support. He's doing trainings for all the training resources that we do live, the weekly team meetings, all of everything, all of that kind of infrastructure and support is coming from the team. So in the, you basically will not make money unless you've got a 50-50 split across the board because of your costs and your time and your resources that are going into it for running a team. Now, that being said, up until now, there has not been any lead gen requirements for the team. However, with Selena coming into our organization and supporting us with the actual sales team, when she was in the team that she ran before was doing about 30 million a year in GCI. And over the course of 6 years, they went from 30 million a year in GCI to 90 million a year in GCI with a team of 6. The team size was exactly the same. However, what they built in was lead gen requirements for every single agent that was on the team, in addition to receiving any leads that came in from the team leader or rainmaker. So that is definitely a different way to run a team, right? And it's a paradigm shift. So some people think, oh, well, the value of me being on a team is that I get free leads. And that is not necessarily the healthiest perspective of how to position the value of being on a team. The value of being on a team is every aspect that comes from being on a team, which is going to be the knowledge and experience and skills of the team lead. It is going to be the support that shows up in the form of huddles day to day based on what's going on in the business. It's going to be all of the benefits that come from being on the team, like events that are thrown for client appreciation events or other events that happen during the year that then bring more business, the team lead is paying for those events to happen. It is any investment in, training that the team lead is making in time, in money, or any other resources back into the team and back into the organization. And the last thing that is the benefit would be the leads that come in, from that. However, what Selena did really well in the team that she ran before was she created a culture of those are the things that you're getting from being on the team, and everyone has a responsibility to contribute to the growth of the team, because when we look at how the business is running, it's running as a team. So lead generation, working a top 50, making outbound calls, sitting in a committed certain number of open houses each month was not an option. It was a requirement and a standard for being on the team. And that is, those pieces were some of the pieces of why that was a high functioning team and was able to then grow in the amount of business that happened, however, also in the profitability of how that business ran, because there's the costs. Oops, we lost her. There's those costs on infrastructure. Judy, is this helpful?
Yeah, sorry, I lost my mouse. The lawn people are here too, so it's noisy at my house.
No, I'm not. I don't hear any background noise.
Yeah, so I wrote down everything. Yeah. Are there other ways to do a team where it's just basically your org and you support them with everything that EXP offers, plus like I'm taking the success coaching training, but definitely I'm not at the level of Rick and Casey for coaching and everything, but I do think that there would be value to that. But is there a team model where I don't necessarily pay for their leads, but I show them how I generate leads for myself, and we're just more of an organization together?
Yeah, so that would not be a sales team, because you wouldn't be taking 50% of a transaction for doing that.
Right.
So in the absence of having a traditional real estate sales team, like we've been talking through in the example of Betsy, if you have business that you're not able to handle, like let's say you have buyers and you want to focus on getting more business, so your focus is going to be sellers, and you want to refer out the buyers, yes, strategically, the most strategic way to do that would be, who are the people that you have personally sponsored on your first level that you would give that buyer lead to? And, you could give it to them. I mean, when Rick hands out buyers leads to first level people that are not part of the Rick Geha sales team, but that are in his first level, he hands those leads out at 50%, not 25 or 30.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, but that would make sense to me, because they're generating their own leads and I'm supporting them as part of my org. And if I have leads that I give them, it would do a 50-50 split, and they would probably be happy for it.
They're totally happy for it. And there's a lot, he has people that are on his first level that aren't doing 2 deals a year. So when they get one of those leads at 50% and they're able to close a transaction they wouldn't have otherwise closed, it's a win for them because they're doing business that they didn't have to go get or generate. It's a win for Rick, because as they close that business, they become an FLQA, because they'll collect, at least 5,000 GCI. And that's, that's just how he does it. We've actually gone back and forth based on the time and the energy and the resources that go into actually running a sales team, this conversation of, would it just make sense to take all the leads that he gets that come in and give them out 50-50 to people that are on his first level and disseminate the team, except for 1 or 2 people, and simplify, right? So there's not that outgo of support. There's not that outgo of time. There's not that outgo of like all the things that go into running a real estate sales team. He still has the team, set up traditionally the way that it's set up right now. However, that is another way that you could do it, right? So you don't have the responsibility of that agent. But if you do have enough business And that is where building a team comes from, right? The leverage of having too many leads or too much business for you to personally handle or service. And now those are strategically going to people that you have personally brought to the company. That is a great way for you to get the 50%, off of the transaction, have the FLQA and not any of the responsibility, right? You need to have the confidence that that person can, particularly if they're not super active, you need to have the confidence that they are going to get the deal closed and handle the client well. So you may end up stepping in and supporting on that transaction, and be more hands-on than just passing it off at a 50%, but you would, decide that on your own, right? So he's done that as well, where it's not somebody on the sales team, they get the lead at 50% and he is part of the transaction because it's one of his clients. And so he wants to make sure that start to finish it goes well. So, if they're out running around showing properties at everyone or whenever, when it comes time to actually write the contract, he may be on that Zoom call about what's going to be in that contract to have it go together most strategically. And then that other agent that's not as experienced is learning and shadowing, and that the value to them is that's why he's getting his 50%. And then the value to them is they're learning and getting the experience while being able to get the 50% that they're going to get for being out, being the front runner on all the inspections and all the stuff, meeting the buyer, however many times they need to meet the buyer, going to the closing table and, being there for signing the papers and all of that. That's going to be what they get their 50% for.
I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I've heard that. Yeah, I think what I struggled with, Casey, is that sometimes I have my own self get in the way of thinking like, well, what value do I really have to offer? I hadn't really structured it in that sense. It's like you're getting my experience, my skills, my coaching, because I have excellent coaches, right? And now I got you guys, and having that to really put that on a platter and say, this is why. And it's not for everybody, but it is for those that do need it and want it. So I've just kind of struggled with putting that value together, because this is actually the first year I've actually had a team, and everybody says that they love it. They don't see themselves going anywhere. They haven't really been great converters. But I've told them, like, look, you're going to nurture your own people around you. So bring that. I kind of wanted to focus more on the agent attraction side of it, and not necessarily bring people to my team, but I already have teammates that want to learn from me, want to grow. And so I was debating whether to put that on the side and then just, move forward with agent attraction, because honestly, the expenses do get high, if we don't have the right structure.
Yeah. So for you, Betsy, I would definitely say, how long have you been in the business?
23 years.
23.
I've been a solo agent for about 21 years.
Okay. So if you think about it from this perspective, for anybody that's on your team that's listing, that listing says, what's the name of your team?
Harvest Real Estate Group.
So it says Harvest Real Estate Group, and that the more Harvest Real Estate Group signs that there are out in the neighborhood, that's part of your brand, right? So if the agents that are on your team are going to co-list as part of the Harvest Team Real Estate Group, then that is going to bring more business because of the brand recognition due to the length of time that you've been in the business. So that's a value to that agent, right? When you're talking about the splits on that and how that's all set up. The other thing is, we had not been paying for any kind of lead generation for the team. We had a really great lead source, and that lead source, the leads were essentially coming pre-qualified and ready to go. And that lead source went away. So now we are looking at investing for more leads for the team. However, we're doing that with agreements. So there's a 10-touch process that happens in the first few days that gets recorded into KV Core when those leads come in. And if agents are not doing that or don't agree to it and then don't execute on it, they do not get leads.
Okay.
Period. Because if you're going to invest money to have leads, it's important to have some kind of standard of what is the protocol that's expected for when those leads come in. What are the conversations? How many times are they texting, calling, emailing within a certain time? What are they saying in those conversations? What are they doing? and then the agreement to nurture the lead if they're not ready right now. And all of that, if you have a team account within KV Core, you can see all of that happening on the back end of what happens when the lead goes in. The other thing that we've done for lead rotation is it's not it's this person's turn to get the lead. When the lead comes in, the lead goes out, and it goes out to all 9 buyer's agents, and whoever picks it up first gets the lead. So
Oh, okay.
you can set that up in KV Core where it's speed to lead, and then you can watch what happens on the back end of KV Core with those leads. So in the absence of having a standard and agreement of how those leads are going to be handled, and then viewing that in the background through the KV Core system, it's an accountability system for the money that you are investing to bring leads into the team. So if that's not something that you're doing, I definitely recommend that that's something that you look at in addition to changing up that buyer split.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Hi, Kim. She's connecting to audio. Okay, so kind of a recap for Betsy. So number one would be creating standards and agreements around what happens with leads when they come in. If you're going to continue to do a spend on leads, so that you've got the conversion that's happening and the accountability on the back end of tracking it through a KV Core system. The second thing would be re-examining the splits that you have. Moving the buyer's agents from 70-30 to a 50-50 and why. And then on the listing side, the consideration of taking 20% off the top for costs to cover the costs on listing. And then the remainder is a 50-50 between you, the team lead, and whoever the agent is that has that. And again, the value to them is multiple signs with the harvest team out. That's going to get more, plus your 23 years experience. That is contract support, coaching, mentoring, team huddles that you may be doing to support the team. And ultimately that's going to allow them to get more business over the line than they would have without that. So that is worth it for them to pay. Yeah. Was there anything else that you wanted to look at in that structure?
Do you use a transaction coordinator within your organization or through EXP?
We have a transaction coordinator, and all she does is transaction coordination. It's $500 a file.
Okay.
And then we have a listing coordinator that handles everything from paperwork to getting the staging scheduled, to getting all the photography flyers scheduled, handled, like that's doing that. She gets paid $600 per file. So instead of having people on salary, we're doing it based on the transaction volume. And then we had an operations manager, and we do not have an operations manager right now. Selena's doubling as that in transition because we've automated a lot of things with the business. So the things that were happening operationally that are not being handled by the transaction coordinator and the lead listing client care specialist will be happening by virtual assistant, which is a monthly expense. However, we were paying almost $7,000 a month for the operations manager, and now we'll be paying $700 a month.
Okay. Does that come out of your overhead in terms of like your split on rates, or does that get divvied out between the agent and the team lead?
So on buyers are always 50-50.
50-50.
And part of the 50-50 is going to pay those expenses. On sellers, 20% comes off the top. Sometimes that covers it on a listing because of our price point. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes there's extra. So that just goes toward the TC, the client care coordinator, listing coordinator, and then we'll go now towards the virtual assistant and part of what we're paying Selena. So
okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. And then for you, Judy, it sounds like you're getting clearer that instead of having the responsibility that comes with running a sales team, that maybe it makes most sense to continue to attract agents to the organization, and for your buyers, which is going to be, those are the most time consuming, to start to give those to people that are qualified agents. That'll be a win, responsibility wise. So
Right.
you can
And
coach
if
the
they have a client that wants to do a listing, would you do the help them do the listing, do 20% off the top and then split it 50-50? Like if they bring a listing in, would you say, okay, I'll do the listing for you and this will be the split. 20% comes off the top to pay for all the stuff. Then I help you with the listing, your name's on it, and we split it 50-50.
So that's more of a team structure. So they would have to be on a team. They would have to be on your team with EXP to do that. Otherwise it's a referral fee, right? So I would say that they have if you want to pass off the resources that you use for staging or for photos, and it's their responsibility to get all of that run and done, that you're just at a straight 50-50, and they handle all of that on their end as a result of handling their transaction. And the 50% comes into your expertise around getting the listing listed, right? Getting the actual listing taken with the client, and then negotiating any contracts that come in, and giving and supporting your expertise on that, essentially supporting the contract start to close, and sharing it as a result of that. So it would just be a straight 50% referral fee. And they would not be set up as a team member. So they'd still be on an 80-20 split to 16,000 with EXP. They are showing as an individual agent. And for that transaction, you would get a 50% referral fee from that agent.
I like it much better.
It is very clean. It's very clean. Yeah. Okay, great. Kim, I know you entered the conversation when we were kind of wrapping up the conversation. However, we essentially went through a business analysis of how Betsy's team's currently set up, what's working, and what are some areas that she might tweak it to improve it. Was there something specific that you were looking for during the call today that we can make sure we hit on?
No, I just want to make sure that I'm plugging into this call, because I've got kind of a different structure where I don't have a official EXP team, but I've got like 8 local agents that are all willing to take leads or, receive leads. And I have a handful of them that I've got an ISA going through. So it's more just me exploring the different ways that they're structured. So I think I'll just keep plugging in and listening
Okay.
until I figure out what to do with my people.
Yeah, so for yours, if they're not part of your real estate sales team, however, they're agents that you've personally sponsored and you're giving leads to, it's going to be important that, because you wouldn't be able to track those essentially within a KV Core team structure, because they're not on your team. And so it's going to be important to have somebody that's some kind of a lead manager that's in communication with them on a regular basis on actually managing those leads and where they're at, because you're not able to do that through KV Core unless they are part of the sales team.
What I've done, just to start with one of them, she took all my Spanish speaking.
We lost her. She's frozen, and we are not. And Betsy with emotions, so you should come back. Oh, she's kind of coming in. Let me just see here.
Oh. I don't know. Now Selena's frozen a little bit. Oh, not Selena.
Oh, there we go.
Casey, there you go.
I'm like, maybe it's me. And I checked I'm on Xfinity Wi-Fi instead of my home network. So I switched over and it freezes in the process. Kim, we lost you because you were frozen. We didn't have connection.
Oh,
So.
sorry, I don't know what the last thing you heard was. But I just have my local people, and I'm just trying to figure out, I was able to create a Google Doc form for one gal that I preferred like 20 leads to, but they're all Spanish speaking. And she just updates it there so I can keep tabs on her there. But it's kind of archaic, but it's working for as little as I'm referring now right now. But I'll need to figure something out. Plug in and listen.
Kim,
Freeze again?
Casey, you did a little bit, but Casey just shared when she gives her leads to her front line that they do suggested 50-50 instead of like normally you do a 25 or I do anyway, to do a 50-50 instead. So not sure if you caught that part.
Yeah, I heard her with, yeah, I didn't hear her like answer me, but yeah, I don't know if I can, yeah. I'm just gathering information, but I think I'll probably do a higher split than a 25. I think on those with Gabby, I did like 30, but I literally haven't touched them. I just paid for them. You know what I mean? And it was $60 that I paid for them. So I feel okay with that. But as I move forward, I'll plug in this so I know what to do with these other leads, because I'm spending money on the ISA.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, was there anything left that you guys wanted to make sure, ladies, we wanted to make sure that we connect on today before we wrap up the call?
You said on that 10-point touch on KV Core, is that a workflow that you built just for your agent to get those notifications? And then you monitor it based on looking at if they're on the team, right? You monitor it based on are they actually making the calls and the task and those kind of things?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Would it be just like so overly zealous of me to ask, like, where do you have that built out?
So email, if you'll email, I don't know anything about KV Core, how to work it, because it's not my lane. So if you email Selena at empirebuilders.pro, SELINA at empirebuilders.pro. She is
Okay.
out of the office this week. However, I know she'll get that over to you when she gets back in. I would say look for it Tuesday or Wednesday of next week.
That's fine. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Absolutely. All right.
All
Anything
right.
else?
Mm-mm.
All right. Selena and Rick will be back on the first week of the month to be with you here. And thanks for having me in the meantime. Hopefully it was valuable. Rick and I were walking last night about me doing the call, and he goes, will you pick up everything by osmosis? You can do the call just fine. And I'm like, I know, but I'm not in the sales business. So, I don't sell. It's like better when it comes from you because you're out there doing it and all that stuff. I do know what's going on in the background, so I can enough to have an intelligent conversation about it. However, I'm looking forward to them being back and helping you all out starting the first week of the month.
Huge blessing. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks so
I thought it
much.
was
Have a great
wonderful.
one.
Okay. Thanks
Okay.
so much.
Bye.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.